Hey everyone, good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the second show, my second show of Stories of Synchronicity, Serendipity and Synchronicity. And I have a guest today that I'm really excited to bring on in just a few minutes. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about serendipity and synchronicity. They're hard to say. And this whole thing started because I have just always been fascinated at the little odd things that happen. And why they happen. And it's so cool now that we have like social scientists and people like that are looking into all these like oddities. Like I love Malcolm Gladwell when he talks about all the intricacies of why people do what they do. So I'm going to tell you what I think that the difference between serendipity and synchronicity are. And then when I have my guest on, whenever I have a guest, I'm going to ask them to define it, and we'll see where it takes us. And then it's going to be free flow. If you want to jump on, let me know, and I shall put you on the screen. And to me, serendipity is like a minor, really, well, that was odd. That was odd that happened. That whatever, found a parking space in front of the restaurant that's really busy that I want to go to. And synchronicity to me involves more of a life change. So here's one that I thought of today. I hadn't seen a friend in years. And I saw her in an elevator in a downtown San Diego office building, which she worked in that building. I didn't work in that building. I forget why I was even in that building or in the elevator. And then we rekindled our relationship, so to speak, whatever you would say for a girlfriend. And now we keep in touch ever since. And I just love hanging out with her. And let's see, I'm getting some messages. This is only my first guest. Last week we did it, and Jamie Monk is here, my coach from England. And Jamie, like all of a sudden, I just forgot everything that I'm supposed to do now. And also Maria Roos is here. So I see two people are hearing me on LinkedIn. And Margie Blockman is saying, has it started? So, I'm not sure what to do about that. And last week I was able to, okay, here we go. Last week I was able to do this. Check this out. Boop. There's Maria. Happy Valentine's Day. And here's my buddy and coach coming from England. He's saying good evening. And he's also giving me lots of encouragement. Thank you. I need it. Okay, so let me see if I can get my guest on. I am going to, she told me to text her in LinkedIn. Okay, so hang tight, everybody. Let's see here. Now let's see if she just magically appears. And I just heard a noise. Oh, there she is. There she is. Now I just hit this. This is amazing. This is so amazing. So I'm going to hit this little button. Oh my gosh. Look, this is better than last week. Remember last week it was like this and I couldn't see the person's whole face? Oh yeah, this is great.
This is great. So happy to be here. I didn't hear a word of what you've already said, so please forgive me on that because I was hidden in the backstage.
That's right. You were in the green room, so to speak.
I was in the green room. So are you in the midst of a sentence or?
No. I'm ready for you because we are fumbling our way through this. I was just saying what I thought was different between serendipity and synchronicity. And,
Right. Well, that is an exploration that is life worthy, I think.
mhm,
First of all, I would just love to greet everybody today. It's Valentine's Day.
mhm.
And what better way to celebrate joie de vie, to celebrate having happy hearts, than to explore the relationship to recognizing divine, recognizing how our lives are guided and given forth from our own creation. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about all of you and everyone that came here and all the stories that we might hear and the things we might discover just having this inquiry.
Mhm.
It's so wonderful.
And
I want to tell you how I came to be here.
Okay, hang on 1 second, Roxanne.
Sure.
I want to tell anyone that's listening that you can put a comment in the comment section in the chat, and then I can see who you are, and we can comment and talk about what you're posting. And Margie Blackman is still trying to get on. She says, I don't hear anything, so I don't know if she sees anything, but this is on LinkedIn, so I text her back, what do you see? So
Oh, good. Thank you. Because I guess I will be able to see the chat. I didn't know if I could, but I do get to see it. So that's really awesome.
Last week, I think what I did, you didn't see the chat, but now I think everyone should be able to see it.
Yeah, well, it's all evolving just as it needs to. It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. So I get to tell you all how to become a guest on this program. I thought, because last week I kind of had to just look around, keep looking, knowing that I would discover how to jump into this program because I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to hear this. And so I don't consequently know how I did it. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I tell other people how to get here when I actually don't know how I got here myself? So I had reached out to Joan to say, how do I give people the way to get in? No, back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. I found a link on Joan's information. And I said, oh, here's a link. So I thought, I'm registering to be in this inquiry together so that I wouldn't have to go through that search process. And she magically wrote me back and said, oh, great. Do you have a bio? And could you send a picture? And I was like, well, sure. So I did. And then, magic of magic, she writes back and announces that I'm the guest speaker. I had no idea how that happened. I discovered Saturday when I tried to send this link, I went and found that link and I sent it to my partner in social media. And she, being so diligent, followed the link and found that, Roxanne, this is a link to be a guest on the program. So all of you, I'm sure that Joan will be happy to place how you become a guest on this program because it is so delightful. What I want to say about that, is that synchronicity? Is that serendipity?
Uh-huh.
And this is what it relates to for me. The desire of my heart is to be a podcaster. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that for about a month and a half ago.
Wow.
I was talking to this amazing soul, Rebecca Murray, about getting some professional photos done. And in our conversation, I was talking about how I'm creating myself. Since I'm a midwife that has retired, I need to recreate myself. And she said, I see you as a podcaster. Bing, 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 ding, 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 ding. A podcaster? I was just so delighted. So that energy of becoming a podcaster is what I'm about. I don't have mine ready yet. It's called Midwife After Hours. So that's how you can always refer to me as your personal Midwife After Hours. It's not on air yet, but this idea of being engaged with podcasts and the world of things that it opens up to you is what got me here today. And I'm so delighted. I told Joan well, actually, I was trying to share a story last week, and we had the technical difficulties, and I didn't. And that story's of, well, a story about how I got my first home. Uh, the this not my well, actually, it wasn't my first home, but how I love big families, and I have, as you may know, 6 children of my own. But this is back in the year of 82, 83, when we had 5 children, and we had a 2-bedroom house. And the crib was in the hall, but didn't matter. The baby didn't sleep in the crib. The baby was in bed with mom and dad. But that left the other 4 children in a room together. This is spanning ages of from 2 to teens. And I had already made an inquiry. I'd already prayed and said, "Oh, we need a bigger home." And once I pray, and I know I'm not asking amiss, I know it's going to happen. So this particular evening, my daughter's going, "Mom, make him be quiet. We can't get to sleep." And so I felt myself going, "How I know your promises are sure, but how much longer are we going to be in this place?" I felt the question turned right back to me. What do you really want? And I was like, "Oh, well, I wanted to be in the I wanted to be in the country, but I was doing something that would keep me actually in town would work better." And I remembered I'd gone by a house one time when I'm meandering through neighborhoods, just meandering, taking new ways. I like the off roads, the back ways, always looking for something. And I went by this house and it caught my eye. It was like, that house needs a family like ours. That was the thought that had come to me. So this house comes to my mind again, crystal clear in my mind. And I was like, there's the house. So I called a friend and I said, "Let's go looking for this house." Well, remember, I was meandering around a neighborhood when I found it. In fact, I tried to show it to my mom when my mom came to visit. Her pronouncement was, "You need to sell your house and leave your furniture behind." So she was definitely enrolled in us getting a different place. But I took my friend and we went in the general area and we went around and around and around and around. We came around and I found it. And I drove up in the driveway and I'm like, "This is it. This is it. This is the house." And get out of the door and knock on the door and nobody's home. So I go home and then I have to come back, and I come back and knock on the door, and I think she was maybe 12-year-old answers the door. And I said, "Oh, I love your house. How many bedrooms does it have?" And I really go, "Oh my gosh, you're talking to, you're a strange woman." I said, "May I give you my number so that your mom can call me?" And so she did call me. Long story. I hope you're hanging in there, guys. Anyway, she called me and I said, "I love your house. How many children do you have?" Because I figure she's another mother of many. And she says, "2." I was kind of quiet. And then she says, "Oh, we know we need to sell the house." And I said, "Well, just don't do too much because I don't think we'd be able to afford it." Now, this affording it had already in those process of figuring out what we could do. I had to press my husband. "Okay, so what can we afford?" Because it was like, you can't afford to move. What can we afford? The answer was $375. This is 1982, 83, in that range, in Yakima, Washington. And so that's kind of an impossibility, you guys. But anyway, within a month, we're renting that house for $375 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the beauty of it is, you think I'm jumping up and down. I'm telling everybody, this is the house God has for us. This is the house God has for us. The first time we saw the inside of it, it was, this is the house you have for us. It was a great, big, dilapidated Victorian home. And there we lived with the promise of what it could be, with plenty of space to accommodate. But you tell me, serendipity or synchronicity?
All right. I'm not a pro, but I would say it is probably a mixture of both.
Indeed.
I think
I heartily agree with you. I think that the first example of how I got on the program is like where I'm creating the fact that it's synchronicity or serendipity. I think that we create it, and we don't have to define it, but we can be mindful that all the things that we are about, the universe is about for us. And it is bringing it into our lives just as quickly as we're embracing it, particularly when we stand in the feeling of it, when we stand in the feeling of what it feels like to have that and be that. So I do have a couple midwife stories, because if I didn't talk about birth, then I'm not honoring my midwifery. Is anybody out there wanting to hear about a birth?
Let's just pause for a second and go over this. So you randomly saw, let me see, I'm trying to figure out how to send a private chat to somebody, to my coach, to say, how do I see how many people are watching? Okay. Anybody want to jump in, comment, say anything about the story? That would be wonderful. Anybody want to talk about or respond to Roxanne's story?
Joan, remember, I think you have to invite them to the stream.
Yeah, to this, but they can just send a chat.
Oh, got you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that. That's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, last week we had a lot of people jumping on and off. Yeah, it was really fun.
It was. But so
okay.
No takers yet.
No takers. So
no takers.
To the and how long did you live in that house?
Oh, good. We lived in that house. We added our 6th child there, and we lived there for, let's see, from 82 to 95. Oh, you have to hear the rest of the story. We were renting the house for $375 a month. But then within a couple months, we actually bought that house.
Wow.
And the way we bought that house, we did sell our other house, but that was not going to be enough money. The way we bought that house was on the real estate contract, such that the real estate lawyer said, I've never seen anything like this. We paid $375 for 10 years and then had a balloon payment.
Wow.
So all things are possible. Yes. And I definitely have stories, kind of big stories, about each of the homes that we've lived in, because home is so special for me. It's just a special, it's just a special home is where your heart is. So, yeah. Well, let me go ahead and tell a birth story.
I have someone that commented, and I'm trying to get it. Oh, there you go. Both things with the health. Tracy Springs says, who's playing the guitar in her picture, both things with a healthy dose of roll up your sleeves and go for it.
Yeah. Well, she is an amazing musician, and she has such powerful work. She is a true example of rolling up your sleeves and going for it. I love it. That's awesome, Tracy.
And just not giving up, just taking, just never saying it's impossible. Just let me just, because how much would a house like that rent for in 1982?
I'm just so out of contact with what it would have been. I think it would have had to have been much more above 500. Just the area it was in, it would have probably be between 600 and 1,000 or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it was a dilapidated Victorian home, seriously. And our favorite program was This Old House. So, I mean, it was so much fun. But, all right. Well, I am going to follow Tracy's advice, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and I'm going to tell you a couple birth stories.
I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it.
So fun.
Do you ever watch Call the Midwife on PBS?
Oh my gosh. Call the Midwife is it's my favorite show, except for there's another one, and it's called Mary and William and Mary. That's another one to check out. It's so poignant, but I love Call the Midwife. It is something that I watch. In fact, it was a Christmas present. We were seasons behind. So we are getting caught up at treasuring every episode. Yes, it's so wonderful. Mm-hmm. So both these stories happen to occur in the same woman's life, in the same family's life. And it's so fascinating that I didn't really put that together so much until I was thinking about that for this one. This is such a wonderful story. When I would go and visit, they had a little, kind of like a little homestead right in the midst of the city. And so they had lots of animals. They had ducks and geese and sheep and dogs and cats and a rooster and just lots of animals. In fact, I remember one time when I was doing the prenatal visit, the turkeys were up on top of the car with the moonroof open, looking down in there. And I thought, oh my gosh, I better shut my roof or I might go home with the critter. That's not what I wanted to talk about, though. What I wanted to tell you was on the day of the labor, it's this mommy's first birth at home. It's her second child with a big span between the children. But she was laboring beautifully, and all the time, some of the times we were in the kitchen and there would just be various animals walking by. And then when labor was more intense, we were in the birth tub. But at this one particular moment, all of a sudden you hear this and and quack, 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 and you hear all of these noises, all in this big crescendo, right as the baby was being born.
Wow!
They were saying, "He's here! He's here!"
Wow, that's amazing.
It's such an amazing thing. And now, was that serendipity for the animals, for the family, for the midwife? I mean, for everyone involved. I think that's the thing, is that sharing these experiences lights us all up. And then we all have more excitement about seeing and experiencing those and sharing those experiences because it lights us up.
Well, the part that I find fascinating is that you acknowledged it as that's just too weird, as opposed to someone else might just go, "Oh, that was kind of," and it was kind of funny that this, but you took it as like a sign, like as a indication of something.
It was so definitely displayed. I mean, it was so definitely displayed, you know.
Jamie says, being welcomed into the world by a herd of animals, pretty awesome way to start your life.
I would say so. And they did move into a more even off-grid lifestyle. But before they did, here comes story number 2. Doesn't have to do with the animal choir.
Wait, I want to ask one question about that.
Yeah,
so the child that was born, how old is that child? Did that child, in my mind, I'm going, and that child, if we're on like a Hallmark movie, and that child became a veterinarian.
You know, I will reach out honestly and find out more about this amazing person, because it didn't happen for the following birth. You know, it's not like this happens every time because it's the same animals. It's the same place. But that was a magical moment. And I agree with you. I want to hear the rest of the story of how that child, and this child now would be about, I think we're saying 8 to 9 years old now. Yeah, that was in the very beginning of my practice. So I will reach out to find out, and I'll report back. Okay. Inquiring minds want to know.
Okay, so I won't interrupt you. You were just going to tell us another story.
Oh, that's fine. So this story was where the mom called me. The dad had gone across the mountain they were really in transition of creating this amazing space for them on the other side of the mountains, because she was like, nah, nothing's happening. And so he was gone. She's in the house, just her and the two children. And she calls me kind of late. And I'm like, oh, I better get there. I get there. I walk in the door. I walk through the house. I walk into the bathroom. She's on the toilet. I reach my hand down and catch her baby. Seriously. There was no moments to spare. There was no time for gloves. There was no time for anything. It was just, and she was on the toilet. So my hands kept that baby from going. And there's nothing, the baby's born out of water. But still, the toilet baptism did not need to happen because the midwife was signed in and there for them both. But magical synchronicity, magical synchronicity. It's just something the midwife can be really familiar with.
And she was going to have the baby anyway, sitting on the toilet, or she was going to get into the bathtub?
This time there was no birth tub. It takes a while to put together a birth tub. I mean, this labor was fast and furious. I mean, she didn't even think she wasn't even thinking it was time to call. I've had another mama that this was her 7th maybe. And I called her and she said something like, oh, it's all good. And I was like, I need to go. I mean, she's in the zone. So another one where I get there and there's very few minutes between that and I would not have been there if by her own, she's in the zone of doing, there's so much I love about that aspect of power in a woman's life, and that power to recognize this very thing we speak of here, that power to have that connection with their baby inside and to be working together. It's all about that synchronicity. It is all about that. That's why
definitely. I would say that's synchronicity for sure.
I do see a comment. Jamie says, or if I hadn't have been a midwife, you would have been a baseball player. Yeah, because I say catching. It doesn't really. What it does is I will not speak of delivering, because delivering is not giving birth, and giving birth is what the woman does. And I think to take away from what the woman does, and the baby does too, by the way, the baby is not a passenger. The baby themselves are figuring out and working out and making the twists and turns that they need to make to do it. It's powerful work. And that power to be taken away from them, to be given to somebody else in the room that didn't do either of those, is deadly wrong. Anyway, platform.
Well, I saw that on your LinkedIn when we first connected. You said it's not giving birth is not being delivered.
Right. It's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. So I'd love
other ones
about that.
Yeah, it's a real important distinction to be making. So, on this topic though of serendipity, it seems like it's more like that whole turning point rather than that synchronicity. And I want to tell you, Joan, just being here on this program last week and you mentioning The Artist's Way has done an amazing thing in my life. That book, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know that we have gentlemen, but anyway, everyone should, there's no shoulds here. What it did for me by simply acting on, I'm going to be doing the entire book, but I'm doing it in a weekly sequence as she suggests. But acting on that first week of doing morning papers, 3 pages, just writing them. And then she says, don't look back. Don't look back at them for at least 6 weeks. And I caught myself wanting to look back at something. I said, no, you don't need to do that. But just the writing of 3 pages every day, on day 2, I realized how much I had censored myself over the last 2 years, how much I've kept myself in check, being very careful the things that I say, and how little freedom was involved with that.
Mhm.
And I have just acknowledged that and said, I am free. I'm free to say all of these things that need to be said. They'll flow through me, and some of the things may come out wrong, and maybe I will have to apologize, but I am not going to censor myself. And that was born out of that life-changing serendipity of being on that program, hearing about the artist's way, knowing that that was something that needed to happen for me, and taking it on to release the gift.
Mhm.
So I call that serendipity.
Well, I'll tell you the same about the book. The Artist's Way totally changed my life last year.
Mhm.
Um, and then I tend to go on to other things. But I had a partner, I had a woman that she lives in Hawaii, and we would call and talk each week.
Mhm.
Alani, I don't know if she's on us with us now today or not, but I would call and we would had a set time and we would go over the week's assignments.
Yes.
And I mean, it was just life changing. And just having a morning routine, which I am not very good at. I am more of a stay up late, sleep late,
Mhm.
and having a morning routine. And then, so those of you that don't know the book, The Artist's Way, the 2 main things of Julia Cameron's book is every morning get up and write 3 pages longhand. You can't write it on a typewriter. You have to write it longhand because, and I do believe that there's different magic that happens with your hand
Yeah.
and your brain than the
Mhm.
fingers on the keyboard. So you write 3 pages every morning, and then on whatever you want. Even if she said, even if you say, I hate this, I hate this, I
Mhm.
hate this for 3 pages, and then you take your inner creative, your inner artist on a date every week for
Mhm.
2 hours, just you and your inner artist, and it's pretty cool to set aside some time to do just what you want to do. Well, first of all, to figure out what it is you want to do. And then,
Hmm.
so are you doing the artist date?
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
you are? Okay.
Oh, so yeah. Well, the thing is, the releasing of writing and speaking. I was so inspired last week of the books that have been written by a couple of the women that spoke. Just impressive. And I know other people and having books. And it's like, I had thought before of writing a book, and it was actually letters to my babies. And because I did for a very brief period of time. I thought I would do it all the way through. But it's interesting. The babies that I wrote letters for were all teen moms, as I had been. I was a teen mom. And I was a teen unmarried mom, hooked up with a drug addict just a long time ago in a different lifetime. But in the time that I was serving these moms, I felt it important to write a letter to the baby, because
Oh my
to me, a
God.
midwife takes care of the mom and the baby. It's not just the mom, it's the mom and the baby. The awesome thing is that those letters, a few of those letters weren't delivered until those children were like, well, I think they were like 9, 10, and I gave the letter to them. I wrote it on a paper and I gave it to them. It was the story of their birth from what happened at their birth.
Oh my
About
God, how precious is that?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I
And
mean, I wish I had done it always, but I trust that the times I did it, it meant something to the people that are getting those letters, you know? And even if it didn't, it meant something to me to be able to take 'em that. to be able to, some people have mysteries surrounding their birth. They're the stories that aren't completely known. And I've gone through what you call a rebirthing, which is kind of a experience of drawing yourself into that experience and then being born again. Not born again religiously, but born where you're conscious of the fact that you were being born. May not be for everyone, but for me, it was a tremendous thing. It was so tremendous. I came out of there going, I always get what I want. It was so clear to me, that the way, or that can be another way of saying, not that you always get what you want, but you always have access to what is intended for you. And you have a hint of those things because that's what's in your heart. What's in your heart, that wishing, that longing, that's intended for you. It's not something that's there like, oh, I just can't have it. No, that's you. That's what you are here to do.
Mhm.
Now, I had a mom, this brings up another experience. I had a mom that had a glorious home birth, and again, a birth in water. She felt guilty to all of her comadres, but she wasn't Latino, but I love that term. It means all of your friend moms, all of your moms that hold each other's hearts, so to speak. And I had to talk to her and say, do you see that by you having this experience, you can give them the ability to hope for themselves, the ability to believe that it's a possibility because it happened for you. And that is the important thing. Why living small does not increase other people's abilities.
Right.
Hiding the magic does
Mhm.
not release it and reveal it.
Mhm. Mhm. So her comadres she felt bad because she had a home birth and her compadres had hospital births.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not that easily just differentiated because, and I'm not here to say that hospital births are bad. No. It's it's oh, there are violations that occur for many. There are things that occur that those experiences want to try to define your life about what you are worthy to experience.
Mm.
Because even in violations to other people, there have been interpretations that would say that you caused that violation.
Oh, okay.
And so, in my experience, you can have whatever it is you want. You just simply have to believe that you're meant to have it.
Mhm. Mhm.
You simply have to let go of there's some kind of penance that you have to work out.
Mhm.
That's not what this is about. And, letting go and opening up and expressing and leaping in faith, and there's so many ways right now to lighten up. There's so many ways to brighten up and bring the lights in full bore in your house. It just there's podcasts, there's TED, there's Ignites, there's so much. And gravitating to those things that feed you, to bringing you to more life and wanting more. It's kind of like I went through a huge transition last year. Well, I started April 17th, and I released 52 pounds, which is poetic. I was born in 52, so it's poetic.
Wow. Wow.
Uh, but I released them forever. I released them. I didn't lose the weight. I released them. And I knew that it was possible because I knew that the science that this was based on was sure, and I knew that I believed that. I took no more sugar or flour for all those many moons, not in any form sugar and no flour. which I know are not, and I know are not contributing to health and well-being for me. I'm not
Mhm,
making a judgment for everybody.
mhm,
But by myself lining up with the things that I know are true for me, then it happens.
mhm. And it's interesting that you said release because with my clients, I work on a word for the year, which I got from John Gordon. He wrote a book with a couple other guys on, thinking about it, meditating about it. What is it that you want to bring into your life,
Mhm,
and what do you want to get rid of, so to speak?
mhm,
These are my words, not his, not the author's.
mhm.
And so the word I came up for this year for 2021 is release.
Ah, I love it. I love it.
And
My
I hope to release some weight, and I also hope to release some disorganization and clutter. Like
uh-huh.
everything looks good right here, but all around here, I'm stepping over cords to get to this, and so and it's been interesting. I've only had the word for. I didn't do it January 1st. I've done the exercise just a couple weeks ago, and I just love that word release as opposed to just it's more gentle.
Yeah. Well, what it acknowledges is that we do hang on to things. We hang on to material things, we hang on to emotional things, we hang on to things.
Hmm.
And by hanging on, we're not leaving room. By
Right,
letting go, we're making room. We're
right.
making space.
Hmm.
And that's the beautiful part about it. I too, I took on a word this year. It's energize. So
Ooh,
pretty happy with energize.
well, you have incredible energy.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting to have avenues of expression. That's,
Hmm.
it really is. Um,
And I really like what you said about. I don't know if you've ever heard of this woman, Marianne Williamson.
the name is familiar, but I can't. Tell me more.
Well, she says in her most famous quote that even Nelson Mandela quoted during his one of his speeches. She says, "Your playing small does not serve the world."
That's right.
And
That's right.
mhm,
It doesn't, and it doesn't serve you.
mhm,
Um, yeah, I think that built into us as women is this this not urgency, but there is built into our passages, our life passages. When we go through menopause, the amount of synchronicity there is in your life, the amount of connection you have to living a heart-centered life is reflected in how challenging or non-challenging that time can be. Because our
mhm,
bodies are wise. Our bodies are wise, and they seek for us to be whole. But healing often has to come from the it comes from the inside out.
mhm,
So one of the things that can occur for us is that we might have some symptoms that are gentle, and we may do something about them, or we may ignore them.
mhm,
So the need to be recognized becomes a much louder call.
mhm,
Um, but I believe that that call, that regardless of how this current society views age, but that call is to be a sage woman, you know, a sage femme is how I put it. And I put that sage femme, it's not original. I didn't think it up or anything, but it speaks to being that wise woman. It seeks to being that heart. I love this saying. When your head, your heart, and your gut align, that's what you choose, because the 3 agreements of this is making it right. Now, when I say right, it's not from that standpoint of right and wrong. It's from that standpoint of live without regret. And when you line up with the head, the heart, and the gut, you're not going to regret what you've done. But when you sway from that because someone said to do it this way, or because you just weren't sure, or whatever reason, then that's a pause for regret. It's
Hmm.
a pause for regret.
And some of that ignoring of those signs, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes in my life, I have gone.
Mhm.
It's something that says, like for you, why don't you write a book? For me too, also, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book?
Mhm.
Um, that's like the true self.
It is.
And then
That's exactly.
some of this ignoring comes from conditioning that we've got from outside forces, maybe our family, maybe media, whatever, thinking like, who do you think you are to write a book? Like if
Mhm.
I said I was going to write a best-selling book, if I told some of my family that, I don't know that they would embrace it.
Well, there's the brilliant part about it, because the more you tell people that you're doing that, the more you're going to do it. You're
Mhm.
going to be held accountable.
Mhm.
Now, well, what do they say? A prophet is without regard, except gets regarded except in their own country. So your family may not be the ones that are going to care as much, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
I
know,
hadn't heard that, but yeah, that it sounds a little biblical to me. Yeah,
oh,
but
it is it's a very poorly cited biblical phrase. It
okay,
was my paraphrasing of it, but it's in your own country that you may have the least
right,
bit of
right,
admiration.
right,
However, I also love what Brene Brown has to say about this. And she said it in a way, she said, people will think you're too much.
right.
They are not your people.
Uh-huh. They
So, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we turn our back on our family. Our families are there for many wonderful purposes, but it may not be the purpose of our creative endeavors. They
Mhm.
may not be our muse. They may not be our cheering squad. I mean, it's especially wonderful when they are, but it's not a mandate. It's
Right.
not a mandate. I do believe that we had choice in the matter. I just prefer to believe. I believe we have accountability and choice. I believe that we chose to come to who we came to. I believe that babies choose to come to who they come to. I believe that we may not know that that's for the progression of our soul, but it's the progression of our soul that we made those choices by.
Mhm.
That's how it occurs to me. So yeah, yeah. So if this is tuning into wisdom is part of tuning into that life and that the aliveness of life for us. How are you going to know that it's turned on if you're not willing to jump out and take a chance and do what it is that excites you? Or whether it excites you, it gently reaches out to you. It doesn't have to always be the thunderbolt. It could be a gentle calling, a rolling of the sea, something like that.
Oh, I'm putting a quote here that you said that I really like. Um,
Mhm.
the aliveness of life.
Yeah.
I thought
Well,
that was amazing. Yeah.
in our culture right now, in our culture, and this comes from the birthing world too, that there's been an era of becoming numb.
Mm.
That's what you do. That's the message that, when I was born in the 60s, when that was really drug seeking, well, narcotics were used a lot in birth at that time. And that's where a lot of people, it didn't draw me. I'm not saying that I'm crazy enough without any substances. Thank you. But anyway, but the I'm more concerned about wanting to be numb than I am wanting to be high, I guess. I don't know. Because
Oh man, I think that is so powerful because we use everything to not feel and guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. Um,
well,
food, alcohol, drugs, video games, checking my phone, biting my nails, pulling my hair. I mean, shopping, gambling, the list goes on, just to not feel.
Wow.
Mhm. So I
What
just
if?
feel like back in the day when all the drugs were happening, I don't know who it is, someone might know it, but there's a song that says comfortably numb. Like, just so I get to this place where I don't feel the calling to be great, to be everything I could be.
Mm,
And I don't feel the pain. You had called it violations, which I really like,
mhm,
that have happened to us. So I'm just going to come into this like very mediocre status quo.
mhm.
Stay there, but see, then it gets difficult to stay right where you want to be. So I love what you said about, yeah, you're more afraid of being numb than
Mhm.
being
High.
high.
I mean, I'm not advocating for drug use here. Again, I'm programmed that joie de vivre is what I'm committed to in my life.
Uh-huh.
And I have discovered that joie de vivre is simply because there's so much beauty. There's so much energy. There's so much, and what I'm wanting to learn more about is vibrations and frequencies. And that's the thing to look at is the frequencies of the food you eat, the frequencies of the drinks that you drink. They have a certain vibration. And then, of course, in my life, I use oils, the frequency of the oils, and the frequencies of different things can take you to different places. And
Mhm.
when you experience those higher frequencies, then you recognize the difference. You don't really want to be um, in the status quo. There's a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And that talks about how the feelings that we feel are real, and you can either you can either, I don't know if you want to say process them or not resist them. Resistance is always futile. If you resist something, what you resist persists. So it's not a pathway of resistance. It's a pathway of adding something in that takes you to a different place.
Right.
Adding
I wrote down resistance is futile.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, it is. It's just true. It's just what you resist persists.
Mhm.
So not going at it from a fighting standpoint. And isn't that how it seems to be expressed for us is fighting? Um, no, it's not a matter of fighting against. It's a matter of enlivening too.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've been having little bits of songs that occur to me, and I got really, really, really excited. I think it was yesterday. I got this. It happened to me, and it can happen for you. And
Mhm.
it's a song by the Supremes, but the lyrics are a downer. I'm thinking, "It happened to me, and it can happen for you." I'm thinking this life and energy, and those are the things because it's the happening, and I feel like it is happening. I feel like the era of 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 not having the contact, the compassion, the care about each other. I think that is part of the gift of the dawning of the age of Aquarius and the age of really just getting much more downloads because there's much more people that are looking to that divine connection and seeing no disruption of it. Seeing that's eternal, and that eternal means it's like right now, folks. It's like right now. Right now, you can be all of these things. So, I appreciate all of the energy that is being expressed in those ways, and I'm really kinda done with fear, 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 and not getting along, not getting along, not getting along, and I can't like you because you feel this way. Sorry. No, that's not it. I nearly said something that I would have regretted, but I would have heard about because I generally don't say things like that. So, yeah, it's like that it doesn't deserve any more of our attention.
And
Let's not.
maybe that's one of the gifts of what did you call it? Sage femme.
Yeah.
Femme sage or sage?
Sage femme.
That's one of the, because I feel the same way now that I'm in my 60s. I'm
Mhm.
like, I remember being younger and looking up to the women that were 60 and just being thinking they were so wise.
Mhm.
And why don't I be that person that I admired?
Well, I would take it a step further. You are that person you admired.
Mhm.
You are. You're sitting there, a live example, bringing to inquiry serendipity and synchronicity.
Mhm.
What a powerful conversation to introduce.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got some pushback from many people on the title because the words are so hard to say, and what does it even mean? And I'm like, well, that's the point. Um, Tracy is saying we on the planet hunger for connection and alignment with the highest we can be, and that is true. We hunger for that, Tracy. This is what I'm going to say to that. We hunger for that, and then it gets scary. Like if it starts to happen, it gets scary, and so then we pull back into the other things, the numbness.
Mm.
So, but that is a choice, but
Mhm.
we keep fighting and keep fighting. And Tracy, keep playing your music, and
Mhm.
don't let anybody tell you that you can't. And yes, I do love alliteration. From
Mhm.
the first time I remember learning about alliteration in grade school, and I was like, oh my God, I love alliteration. Yes. Yes. So,
So
so we
true.
just have a couple minutes left. Is there anything you wanted to make sure that you mentioned, or you would like to tell us what you're doing, what's coming up,
Yeah. Watch.
how we can support you?
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited about getting this podcast out. It's probably maybe still a month or so away, but anytime you see Roxanne Spring midwife, your personal midwife after hours, anytime you see that, tune in, send me a message. That is a Gmail, is midwifeafterhours@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from all of you. I would love to have have an interaction and hear about what you're up to, and have a chance to connect, because connection is where it's at. And I thank you, Joan. I thank you again. I thank you for being that sage femme. I thank you for the fact that you're taking it on. You are taking it on and you're releasing. That's your word of the year. That's there for a purpose. Releasing anything that tells you that you're anything less than sage femme.
Exactly.
And just let that go and move on.
And move on.
And thank you so much. It's been just a delight. I've had more fun. By the way, I've never done this before. This is my first time doing it. I had so much fun that I have to tell you, I am addicted. Come out and play, everybody.
Here, Tracy has something to say before we leave. And though we may limit the lives we touch, because it hurts sometimes to feel too much, find the strength to do what you can do with work and hope.
That's a lyric of her song.
Oh my gosh, so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Tune in to Tracy Spring, you guys. This is a time when we need to support all the arts, all the arts, all the arts.
Oh my gosh, it's such a lifesaver. Yeah.
Yeah, it is totally a lifesaver. And that is what keeps the energy flowing upward.
Mhm.
And that is beautiful. So thank you again, Joan.
We have one other person
Yeah.
saying before we go, oh my gosh, it's Valentine's Day. You know, I am single. I don't have a partner, but if any guys out there want this whole package, it's kind of complicated, but it is available.
Wow, Joan, show yourself open arms wide to the universe. Woo! I
So
love
Bill, I don't know if you're single, but I just want to reach out to people that are single today, and it can be a tough day.
it. It can be.
And you don't have a Valentine. It's like the same as New Year's. All these things are like man-made, are like out there. They're not. You said head, heart, and gut.
And gut.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. And you know what? That whole idea of having a partner or attracting a partner, it kind of begins with you yourself aligning, with you yourself being someone that you love, and and acknowledging that. But I will tell you, I'm so delighted that we got to share part of Valentine's Day, because I dearly love you, Joan, and I barely got to meet you. So thank you for sharing lovely you in this way.
And whoever's listening, Bill is not going to be my future boyfriend. He's been married for 29 years.
That's right. He's off the market.
He's off the market. Yeah, I can't do that.
But Bill might know somebody.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to let you go. We're here every Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 1:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Did I say Greenwich Mean Time? I think I said Greenwich Mean Time. Greenwich Mean Time. And I'm going to have a guest every week that's just going to tell us about synchronicity and serendipity and how it has affected their lives. And this is going to be interactive. And thank you so much for being my guest, Roxanne. I have had so much fun.
Me too, Joan.
And you are going to do great. I'm going to put in the notes that your personal midwife after hours.
Yeah, but to reach my email, it's midwifeafterhours@gmail.com.
Is it okay if I put that on LinkedIn?
Please. That would be awesome. I would love it. I would love suggestions for topics and things you want to hear more about. I would love that.
Awesome.
Thank you. Have a great day.
It's going to be, I don't even know what it's going to be every week.
That's the beautiful part about it.
I'm just going to take the lead from the guests like we did with you today. And it's going to be great.
It is. It is great. And I will be tuning in.
And Jeff says, by the way, I love the title. Thank you, Jeff. I love it too.
Oh yeah. We did discuss how I would have a hard time remembering both words. I would always remember one, and then I'd have a hard time remembering the other, and then I'd remember the other and I couldn't remember the other. But it's so great that you have both of those, because they just are live. So just like you and the program we're on, live. I
love your microphone. So do you know Lynn Lullum Davies?
I do. That is
a beautiful program. She wanted to jump in before we jump off.
That's so rich. Thank you.
Okay,
she's my dear sister.
Much. We'll be in touch, I'm sure. I'm going to hit the end stream button now, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.